I know a lot of people come to this channel for something potentially a bit more positive after bad results, but it's not going to be that today because I've had enough. I've really fucking had enough. I'm not coming on here looking for, you know, players to blame, managers to blame or anything like that, because to be honest, every single one of them was an absolute fucking sack of shite. Actually, no, to be honest, Joe Linton was pretty good and Ramsey was really good as well. Outside of that, every single other one of them was an absolute fucking sack of shite. And actually, you know what? Fuck it. I am going to go deeper into specific players today. Like, I'm not particularly looking here for, you know, players to blame, but there is specific players that fucked me off even more than others in that game. So I am just going to go deeper on that. So let's start with Nick Pope, because Nick Pope, I could put up with Nick Pope, you know, I could put up with his fucking cabbages for feet. I could put up with them when he could make saves that would potentially sometimes win us points in games. When was the last fucking time Nick Pope made a save that won us some points? Because genuinely, I'm asking you that as a question. Like, I can't actually remember the last time. So please let me know in the comments the last time Nick Pope actually won us points from a game. Made a save in a game that was like, wow, that was an amazing save, and that has just actually saved us some points in a game. Because countless fucking times this season he's cost us points. So for me, there's no question about it at all anymore. He has to go in the summer. Or not have to go, just we need a new first choice goalkeeper, because Ramsdale also isn't particularly up to it. So I mean, we're gonna have to put up with him for the rest of the season. But for me, 100%, like if Eddie was sat there on the fence about, you know, getting in a new keeper or whatever, you know, if he's sat there with his 2027 team sheet, he has to have just crossed out Nick Pope's name on that 2027 team sheet, because absolutely fucking not a chance are we going into next season with that anymore. Next, we've got Kieran Trippier, and I hate to do this because I love Kieran Trippier. I think he's given so much to the club since he's been at the club, and I've had so much respect for him on so many levels. Just not just how good he was on the pitch, but obviously coming to us in the first place, and then just so much of like the leadership skills and all that kind of stuff. I really, really think Kieran Trippier is incredible. But you're a Premier League footballer, living the dream, 35 years old, sort your fucking life out. And I know this is going to seem really harsh based off of what we've seen over the weekend, where he was out with an OnlyFans girl, and I know it seems really harsh for me to go into that, but just bear with me because I've got more on that. I completely understand he's going through a split with his wife. I understand he's a human being. He's allowed to go out on a date. There's nothing wrong with him doing that. Like, even if it was just one date, that would be sound. No one would have a problem with it. But I need to be very careful what I say here, because there's been talk circling around town for a long time now that what we saw in the papers over the weekend, all I'm going to say is I know someone who owns some bars in Newcastle, and I was not at all surprised when that came out over the weekend. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say any more because, as I said, I've got to be very careful what I say, but it gives context as to why myself, maybe some other fans who might have been, you know, told things, it gives a bit of context as to why some fans are getting really frustrated with his downturn in form. Because his downturn in form, I would understand it if, you know, he's getting old. I understand he's 35 years old. If it was just, you know, the obvious things like, you know, he starts to drop in pace a bit, but like not being able to beat the first fucking man from corners, consistently not being able to beat the first fucking man from corners, sloppy, shitty passes that are just, they're not because he's getting old. They're just literally because his head's not in it at the moment. And the reason it fucks me off even more is because he is 35. One, he should know better than to be out acting like he's a fucking 18-year-old that's just found his fucking dick. But also, you've got what, a year left, maybe 2 at best? Just fucking focus on football for that last year or 2, and then go out and shag as many OnlyFans bird as you fucking want. For all I care, you can start your own fucking OnlyFans once you've retired. I could not give a fuck. But for this last year, at least beat the first fucking man from corners. Because right now, Tino's injured. We don't have a right back. He is our right back. We need a fucking right back. He is the only option. We don't need another fucking Geordie Shaw cast member. We need a right back. With Lewis Miley injured out as well, like, we need Trippier now more than ever, and his head's not fucking in it at all. Like, that fucking game against Everton, there was so much shit from Trippier in that game. And I understand he's 35 years old. I understand, you know, he's been played too much. He's been played into the ground as a 35-year-old, but fuck me. And then obviously there's Anthony Gordon as well. I'll get to that in a minute, because if we go back to about 3 weeks ago, we go back to the Brentford game. I think it was Trippier in an interview shortly after the Brentford game, came out and said that after the Brentford game, the team had had a meeting away from Eddie Howe where they basically all said that they need to pull their fucking fingers out because they're letting down Eddie Howe. If anyone does know which game it was after, please let me know in the comments, because I can't remember which game it was after that Trippier said that they'd had that meeting. He said it in an interview, I think, after the game, but the meeting was after the Brentford game. Whichever game it was obviously a game that we'd won, and it was, you know, a way of being like, oh, everything, there was some kind of PR spin that, you know, everyone's turned a corner and everyone's playing better now. And that was clearly a load of fucking bollocks. I mean, the meeting might have happened, but they've all taken absolutely fuck all from it. Because in the games that we won since then, we played Spurs, who are absolute fucking dog shit. We played Qarabağ, which, credit to them, they've done very well in the Champions League this year, but they are a team full of fucking plumbers, essentially. Like, they are also dog shit. Credit to them for doing as well as they did. They are also dog shit, right? Aston Villa were beating us, granted to an offside goal, were beating us up until Marco Bizot decided he didn't like fucking Jacob Murphy having knees. So up until that moment of madness, Aston Villa were beating us, and I can almost guarantee, especially with obviously the way they had the referee on the side, the way they did, I can almost guarantee they would have probably fucking beaten us as well had, as I said, Marco Bizot not been fucking mental. And then fair play, we did have a good performance against Man City. Was still a loss. So realistically, as I said, other than that City performance, like what was this upturn in form meant to be? This meeting that they had where everyone realised, oh, they're letting Eddie Howe down, what's come of that? A couple wins against Qarabağ, 4 goals from Anthony Gordon. Ooh, he's back. It was as if everyone had completely forgotten how shit he's been over the past couple of years. Scoring 4 goals against some fucking plumbers does not make up for the fact that in this whole Premier League season so far, 22 games in, he has managed 5 goal contributions total. So 3 goals, 2 assists. And last season wasn't a whole lot better. 6 goals, 5 assists in a full season. Anthony Gordon is now the first player since Moussa Sissoko to be booed off by our fans. The first individual player since the Ashley era to be booed off. So that's where we are right now. We're back in the fucking Ashley era. We're not back in the Ashley era. We're obviously not. I'm having to fight with myself here and like remind myself of what it was like back then. But like, fucking hell, like there's so much at the moment that just feels very similar to the Ashley era. Like, granted, I still remain positive for the future. And obviously during the Ashley era, like there was no moment of ever feeling remotely positive for the future. So I am trying to remember how things were. But at the moment, like, there is a lot of similarities. There's a lot of moments where, you know, it does just feel like the Ashley era in terms of like when you're going into a game, it feels like Steve Bruce times. It feels like, you know, you go into a game, we'll lose against Everton, you know, then we'll probably somehow miraculously get some sort of result against Man United or something like that. Like it feels like that kind of, it feels exactly like it did back then. Exactly, you know, we'd go and lose to Southampton or something like that had been shit at the time, and then we'd go and beat Chelsea the following week. But the problem is we had 3 years where our home was a fortress. Every team that came to St James's Park was fucking terrified to go there. Now, people are probably fucking buzzing to get there because we're shit. We are shit at home now. We had a bad away form, now we also have shit home form. But I'll tell you what fucks me off, even more than any of it, right? Before Anthony Gordon handed them their 3rd goal on a fucking plate, after we'd worked so fucking hard, like, they were in a low block for so long. We were doing everything we could to break down that low block. And like, fair play to the players. They were, you know, they were putting in effort there, right? And then we finally get a moment of beauty, you know, a lovely little sort of like bit of ball control from Joe Linton, a really nice like pick out from Joe Linton, and then a beautiful finish from Jacob Murphy. We shouldn't be in that position in the first place, but we finally managed to equalize, get it to 2-2. And then straight away, within literal fucking seconds, Anthony Gordon decides to try and take on 3 players in his own fucking half, gives the ball away, and goal. We've literally just, everything that we've just spent ages trying to do, instantly undone. And that's another similarity, by the way, to the Ashley era, because I was at the game, I was with my mate, And he turned to me and was like, remember when during the Ashley era, we used to actually, like, we'd score a goal and then we'd start counting down the seconds before we'd concede again? Because that's what we used to do back in the Ashley era. We'd score a goal and then it'd almost be inevitable. Like, we would literally, as I said, as soon as we scored, we would just start counting and we'd be like, oh, there it is. But anyway, back on the thing with Gordon. What fucks me off more than anything is before that goal, I was sat there to myself thinking, our problem is that we don't have that, like, kind of exciting player anymore. Like, there's nobody that gets on the ball and, like, it gets the fans out of their seat. You know, it puts fear into the opposition defense. We don't have a player like that anymore. It was Isak. Before that, it was Maxi. And for a moment, before that goal from Gordon, I was thinking, like, Gordon was actually having a relatively good game. And I was thinking, Gordon is probably that player now. Gordon is the player, the closest we have to that player, at least, that when he gets the ball, you actually have a level of belief something could happen. Obviously, let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong on that. Maybe you have another idea of a player that, you know, if there is a player that, you know, whenever they get the ball, you sort of get a bit excited, get out your seat. But for me, I think it was Gordon's the closest to that. But what fucks me off is that obviously Eddie Howe wanted rid of Alan Saint-Maximin because he does stupid shit like trying to take on 3 players in his own box and always wanted to be the hero and was just a bit selfish. Everything was about him. So with that in mind, how the fuck is Anthony Gordon Eddie Howe's fucking golden boy? Because that is exactly what Anthony Gordon is. They are basically, in terms of ego, they're basically the same fucking player. Granted, Gordon works a bit harder, but then I would also say that in terms of, like, the, you know, trying to be a hero, Saint-Maximin had probably more technical ability than Gordon does. Like, he's probably a better player who just doesn't work as hard. So you'd have to say that if anyone was going to actually be able to be a hero within a game, I would say Saint-Maximin was more capable of that. And then even more of, like, what I can't understand about how Anthony Gordon is Eddie Howe's golden boy is when you think of it, right? So we also know that, I think it was last season, Anthony Gordon had his head turned by speculation to Liverpool, which he's come out and admitted that he had his head turned by speculation to Liverpool. So what I'm questioning there is, considering Eddie Howe said in an interview that one of the things he looks most for in players is their desire to be within this setup, their desire to be at Newcastle, right? How is Anthony Gordon one of his favourites, considering he realistically, from the sounds of things, doesn't actually want to be here? He wants to be elsewhere. He's just stuck in a contract and, I guess, you know, making the best of a bad situation is probably the way it seems from at least what we know about Anthony Gordon. So at least I hope Eddie Howe meant what he said when he said that, you know, one of the things he looks for in players is their desire to be there, because obviously otherwise I can't understand why the fuck we've signed Johan Wisser at the moment, because the only thing that he has that ticks a box at the moment from an Eddie Howe perspective is wanting to be here. Outside of that, useless. Personally, I haven't fully written him off yet. I do think maybe, you know, the way that this season's gone, maybe next season, I don't know. But at the moment, fucking useless. But anyway, back on Anthony Gordon. Second thing I can't understand as to why Eddie Howe thinks of him as a golden boy, his attitude in terms of, oh, I don't want to play right wing, so I'm just, you know, just not gonna. Like, I don't think Harvey Barnes wants to play right wing either. I'm sure he'd prefer to play left wing, but that openness, that ability to do whatever job from the team. Voltemada certainly doesn't want to play as a fucking 8, but like that selfishness and doing what's required for the team, I thought that was something that Eddie Howe valued. I guess not. And then obviously the last thing that pisses me off as to why he's the golden boy is the kind of the one that I've already said, of him and Saint-Maximin were the same kind of ego-driven, sort of wants to be the hero kind of player. So like, that's why Eddie Howe got rid of Saint-Maximin. So why is he like Gordon so much when the thing that Eddie Howe didn't like about Saint-Maximin is Anthony Gordon? And this isn't me saying bring Saint-Maximin back, because I don't think that's the solution. Although obviously he was available on a free, and that kind of just shows that all that bollocks that the, you know, came out around the time of Saint-Maximin being sold, it was all for PSR and we'd love to have kept him, but all for PSR and whatever. That just shows how much of an absolute fucking crock of shite that was, because realistically, if we could have had him back on a free and you really wanted to keep him, then we would have just got him back on a free, wouldn't we? So obviously that wasn't the case. Obviously Eddie Howe didn't actually want him at the club. They just had to put a PR spin on it, because obviously all the fans at the time absolutely loved Saint-Maximin, really didn't want to see him go. So instead of kind of making Eddie Howe out to be public enemy number one. They had to obviously put that PR spin on it of, oh, PSR. PSR is the reason why. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure PSR was a factor. PSR is a problem for us, 100%. But if it was purely, you know, you really wanted to keep him, and if it was purely PSR, then as I say, he was there on a free, we would have just got him back. But right now, where we are, we've lost 5 of our last 6 in the Premier League. Our home form is now as bad as our heap of shit away form that we're so fucking famous for. And our next 6 games are Man United, Man City, Barca, Chelsea, Barca, Sunderland. So all I can fucking say is strap in, everyone, because it's about to get a hell of a lot fucking worse. Although, to be fair, as I said earlier on, it's standard Ashley era days, so we'll probably go beat Man United midweek, or even, you know, beat Man City or something like that, maybe even beat Barca, and then we'll go and fucking lose to Sunderland. But anyway, I don't have much more to say on the whole thing. I'm not going to sit here and analyse the fucking goals or anything like that. I've said what I feel like I need to say. So that's all the noise for this one. I will see you on the next one after we probably lost to fucking Man United. Fuck this shit.